Welcome everyone, I'm Chris Dobbin and I'm thrilled to welcome you to another live stream on Amplify Your Brand, the ultimate live on building powerful brand in today's digital age. Along with my fellow friend and fellow branding expert Samoa there, we're here to help you share expertise and help you get your brand to the next level. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, someone tinkering around with a personal brand or a marketing expert, please join us today on practical insights and strategies that will help you amplify your brand and stand out in the crowded digital age. So please get ready, take some notes, learn what you take it into action, because by the end of this live stream, you'll have a clear roadmap or a way to build a brand that is truly going to resonate with your target audience. So thank you for joining us today. And let's find another way to amplify your brand. And Sim, a topic that's going to probably raise some eyebrows, what the hell we're talking about, because this is not a term that a lot of people use and fully understand. So hopefully by the end of the episode, you will understand that we are talking today about mastering brand guardianship. It's a deep dive into the P8 Brandeon Framework, and it's a way to protect and enhance your brand's integrity. And why is it important for them?
Well, brand, to the core of its definition, I always like to define it as an experience. And being able to replicate that experience consistently is what the act of branding consists of. The guardianship is the insurance that your brand needs to make sure it is delivered consistently, whether you're available, whether you're not. As the business owner, you will have lots of things on your plate. You'll have staff to run. You'll have a lot to deal. And brand guardianship is the maintenance of that experience maintained.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to work through a few slides to explain it a little bit further to everyone, but I guess we'll just get straight into that and talk it through. So as we touch on each week, this is based on our branding program, which is, based on over 20 years of developing and upgrading our branding and identity framework, which is built on the experiences both Sim and I have. And it encompasses what we call 8 critical sections of branding, which we call the 8 Ps, an easy to understand, implement program. So every business owner can amplify their brand. And as you can see on the screen there, it covers a number of different 8 Ps that we talk through. And today we're actually heading more into the version of this, and normally we have a guy standing there pointing it out. It'd be number 8. It's in the protection part of this. So it's the ongoing promotions and protection in the green section. So what is brand guardianship? Well, it's a way to manage your brand because it can be hard work. That's where we come in as brand guardians, and we work with you to establish and maintain and amplify your brand. We find ways to use brand guardianship to involve an ongoing and strategic management of your brand's identity, values, and reputation. So it just goes beyond mere oversights. It encompasses the active protection and promotion of the brand's distinctiveness in the mind of the consumer. And I guess, Sim, why is that important? Like, why is it important?
Yes, in the process of protecting your brand, and mostly marketing, because you don't need to actively protect your brand, but you do need to actively market. And that's when hiccups and turns along the journey come up. And I've done this for a few clients, and the simple things are like when you send your logo for production for garments, for example, stitching and whatnot, it happens that sometimes production tries to shortcut or make an easier way for that logo to be reproduced. And it's happened a number of times that they simply cut out the logo mark and then change the font of the logo to something that they have in the system. And that could be one of 2 problems. Either the file wasn't correctly set up and sent, or the production facility is not aware that there's a brand in place and it needs to be upheld. That's the simple case. On the other side of the spectrum, we have all sorts of social media needs. We have website lead magnets to be created. All of these things, they need to be within the consistency of that brand experience that the brand has created. And the brand guardian is going to make sure that all of those touch points are delivered on a consistent basis. And it doesn't just rely on the client or the business owner to do it themselves. So the brand guardian is somebody who will look after the brand and its integrity. So that's what we are promoting with this brand guardianship program, is that we meet on a regular basis. We look at the goals that the brand has and then make sure that we are able to have a plan in place for the delivery of those goals.
Yes, and we just jumped in early to a future part of the program, but we'll talk about that later. So, as we do every week, it's just our thing now. The practice entails upholding the brand's visual elements, messaging, and core ethos across all the touch points. So that's what I guess Sim was just talking about then. So it ensures the coherent and the brand resonates as a brand experience, not just a brand on its own. So with brand guardianship, it involves obviously adapting to the changing market dynamics, maintaining it relevant, making it informed decisions, and then reinforcing the brand equities. So one of the key things about brand that most graphic designers do is they give you a logo and even maybe a basic style guide, and they say, here it is, off you go, run with it. And what happens is over time, the person who's running the business isn't a brand expert, they're a business expert, right? So they're running their business, doing their thing, and just they get lazier and lazier with how the brand's resonating with out there in the real world. So what we would try to do with our clients right now is stay on top of that with them. So if they start becoming lazy or they start doing some things that just aren't right for the brand's longevity, that's where we would come in and help them work on making sure that that's keeping it consistent. I work with a client that has a brand that goes into places like Woolies and Coles and things like that. So he has to be at a certain level. Otherwise, if every week he turned up with a new look and feel for his product, people wouldn't know where to look for it. They wouldn't find it. It'd just disappear. And even when he does change the branding or the products, packaging, we have to actually run a campaign around that in the public domain so that people are aware of it and know what to look for. And these are things that just seem very simple, but if not done well and not done right, then you'd waste a lot of money and time trying to chase your tail to get people to understand that you've done something and why you've done it. So it's another reason why working with us as brand guardians, we will help you maintain that relationship with your consumer or your target audience, whatever that may be. So again, another really good reason for brand guardianship. But do you have any other things about market dynamics and why it's important to have someone looking over that for you?
Well, you just mentioned a couple of aspects in the daily operations and dealings of brand marketing, and then you mentioned market dynamics. So basically, having your finger on the pulse. This is something that I've done for a long time. It's something that I actually have a passion for. I try to start 1 or 2 days in the week looking for new things, looking at around and seeing what happens in the world of branding, in the world of marketing, how things are evolving. Does technology affect the way we are currently speaking? And yes, it has, absolutely. AI has come in. There's a bunch of new rules to learn. It's in its infancy. AI itself is affecting the way we communicate, and we're trying to be smart about not letting it run over the entire process, but we are also trying to implement it so it can systemize and better the processes that companies have in their daily operations. However, market dynamics and having that awareness of what is constantly happening and evolving is another aspect of brand guardianship. It's not just repeating the same thing every day. It's being able to do that while keeping your eye on the horizon.
So, and a big shout out to a friend of mine out there, Kim Tonelli, who's having a quick look at us today. So thanks, Kim. So look, obviously we just talked about the brand guardianship and the dynamics. One of the other thing too is it fosters long-term brand loyalty and strengthens the emotional connection between the brand and its audience. So I guess what we mean by this is that, again, a business owner is usually really good at their business and they will do what the business needs to keep it going and function and things like that. But we make their life easier by when they're asleep, this brand is out there doing its thing, making sure that people, like you said, it's like a good friend that you just feel like it's consistently showing up in a way that you can trust them. You feel like they're the right people for you or the right product for you or service or whatever the case be, so that you just feel like it's consistent in a way that it feels safe. And if it feels safe, then you're more likely to trust it and more likely to buy more of it as it resonates with you, or it feels like it's a comfortable decision. You're not feeling risk. And I think one of the most common things people do is do something that I guess, is either inconsistent or it does something that is just so vanilla that it doesn't stand out. And we talked about this in a previous episode where if accountants just said, I'm an accountant, then every accountant in the industry gets promoted, not just them. Where if you say why you're an accountant, why you stand out different, and you show it, then they're more likely to pick you over the other accountants because you've made it clear that you're not just any other accountant, you're the accountant. You're the one they need to go to. So it's just a great example how brand can say that.
You mentioned that word again, and it's very, very timely. Inconsistently, things can happen. And if we look at the everyday of a business owner in a small business, there'll be 1 to 5 people involved in the business, and everybody has to earn their keep. Basically, in a five person structure, everybody has to take on a lot, and it's when everybody is able to work in unison that the business moves forward. With the branding part of it and the marketing part of it, that's exactly the same. It could be that some organizations keep their designated person to do certain marketing activities. Some brand experience is delivered through them, but when that keeps getting handballed over to somebody else, that's when inconsistency is prone to come in and slip in through the cracks. And it might just be something very quickly that happens in a post. The wrong word goes up, or the wrong templates get assigned to a number of campaigns that go out. And all of a sudden, the brand consistency is broken by not having somebody who is attentively looking and reviewing all these materials. It happens all the time. It happens in big companies and obviously in small companies where more is demanded from each member of the group, where each one of them holds a bigger percentage of stakeholdership in that business. That's where brand guardianship again ensures that delivery consistently happens on a day in, day on basis.
Yeah, and the scale of your business means how important brand guardianship is to your business, or the level of how we get involved with your business on this level. So, the very simple version I've used in previous episodes about VAs. I work with a number of small business owners that have a VA. They have that luxury. Where I come in is I literally work with them just to make sure that they are following the basics of the style guide. They are using the colors that are required, and they may be even choosing the right types of images, photos, even if they're using stock photos, just making sure those stock photos have a particular personality, look, feel, vibe about them, so that when they make decisions on next post or next pictures they're going to send out, this is where that comes into play. So just another example of a very small version of how brand guardianship works. So look, let's talk about brand guardianship and one reason why you might not be getting results from your brand marketing. So because it's your time, it's your money, it's the energy that shouldn't be wasted. So instead of continuing slug it out and hoping for the best, we request that you get a branding expert like us on your side and start amplifying a brand. And so what we're going to talk about is reasons you might need guardianship. Right now you might be thinking, well, it sounds interesting, it sounds fun, but why would I use it? And one of those reasons is you probably don't have a plan. So if you don't have a plan or a specific goal to achieve your targets, then how do you achieve them? So with our P8 program, one of the key things we do, Sim, is we sit down with our clients, we talk about, okay, if we're going to go through this process of actually spending money on your marketing and brand, what are we looking to achieve? Is there a certain outcome that we want to achieve that will then, when we come back to this in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years from now, we can go, this is actually working. And that's a key example of why it's important.
Absolutely. Lack of planning is really planning to fail. I know I'm misused
just, sorry, Tim, there you go. Your mic's come back. Sorry, mate. Your mic just disappeared a bit there. So you're tapping something?
Oh, I have a second chance. I have a second chance of not butchering the saying. Failing to plan is basically planning to fail. And I said it wrong the first time around. I hope I got it right this one. But basically, brand guardianship is not just enhanced micromanaging. Brand guardianship is making sure that you're keeping the eye on the ball. Because we talk about plans and everybody talks about wanting to do the right thing and marketing constantly, but marketing constantly is not marketing better. And a lot of small businesses, once they have their basic set of brand assets, they forget about it because everything else pulls at them. Everything else is happening and unfolding on a daily basis. And that's where we come in and set the KPIs and build the goals so that within the quarter, those goals can be achieved and then either surpassed ideally or underperformed or performed just right. The fine-tuning of that process is what guardianship is really about. Keeping yourself accountable, making sure you're looking at the true goals and not just having random stuff go out.
That's right. Just yesterday I had a client call up and they wanted to do some A4 letterheads. And I said, what do you want the letterheads for? And he's like, oh, when we're on site, we do drawings and we draw up stuff. And I said, oh, okay. So you want it more to be a notepad? And he goes, actually, yeah, it's not a letterhead, it's a notepad. And then I said, are the things you do on site that your staff need to do so that they check every time they do it? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, so could we up in the top left-hand corner put the checklist so that they have this notepad, they look professional with the notepad, but they've also now got that checklist and they can just check it off and then write their notes down. And he goes, oh, that'd be awesome. And I said, why would we do that? And he says, well, because then they don't forget things. The experience of them being on site is always the same. And so this is not an obvious brand experience, but once you work through it, you realize that if we have that professional document in the person's hand, they're out on site using it, and it's a checklist, that consistent, I guess the boss doesn't need to be there. The staff are going to do what they do consistently, and the person experiencing it is going to see a good brand, a professional brand, just because they put this extra bit of time into this notepad that would have been just a blank piece of paper with a logo on it, but is now turned into a usable internal document.
That's perfect example. Same thing with a fitness equipment shop, a client of mine. They do the exact same thing. We came up with the need for that checkup at the end of an installation of a fitness equipment piece. They go through each one of the 10 items, and they're small things, so they need to be checked. So you can't remember 10 items at the end of an installation. You're going to be after 4-hour installation. Believe me, I've done it myself. You're mentally tired. You're physically drained. Maybe you could be starting to cramp. You want to get out and get some food, but the checklist must need to be run through with the client so that at the end you're able to deliver that brand consistently. So this is not just the visuals and the pretty side of brand marketing. It's actually stuff that matters, stuff that affects the culture, stuff that reflects internally as well.
That's right. So we'll move on to the next thing. The second reason why you need Brand Guardian is you're probably not getting enough sales. So you're not probably getting enough qualified leads or high-end sales. And what we find when clients actually communicate with their client effectively, their target audience that they're trying to attract in an effective way, either both visually through words or even the placement of the ads they're sending out to attract inbound leads, then this will attract more sales. It seems really obvious what I've just said, but so many clients get it wrong. They just think, we build Rome and people will come. Like that's their mentality. It's like, come back to the accountant earlier. We're an accountant and it's coming up to tax time, so everyone will call us. And it's like, well, no, they will choose an industry called an accountant and they will choose the one that pops up first. And that's what they'll choose. Because generally people want convenience and simplicity and time back, and they just want it to be easy. But if you're the accountant who's actually out there saying, I will save you time, I will make it easy, and we will save you money, like all of a sudden people will go, you're my guy. Let's go with that accountant because they resonate with me. But just sitting around twiddling your thumbs, sitting at your desk going, I'm an accountant and they will come, won't work for you. So this is something
that used to be the case.
Yeah,
correct. That used to be the case some 10 years ago, not anymore. You have to be very, very intentional. And the word brand loyalty comes into this. Like statistically, it's proven that brand loyalty drives sales and drives the outer end of the funnel. But what Chris just mentioned is a perfect example. An accountant is not a typical brand sensitive individual. They think in numbers, they're looking at different things, they're looking in spreadsheets. And when they put out an ad for the end of financial year, they'll probably grab a template off Canva, for example, just put up their message and make that a Facebook ad. Now, the problem with that is that if it's not carrying the right message in the right tone of voice with the right visual look, like Chris said, he'll be opening up the possibility that his competition will be getting the business. When in specificity, he would benefit his sales from one, driving brand loyalty, because people will remember it's the same colors, it's the same message, it's the same type of imagery, that after a while, repetition just inculcates into the audience's awareness. So brand loyalty is also something that it's not just a term to use, and it's not just something we should expect from audience, because let's face it, as customers, we don't look at a product and see how loyal can I be to this brand. We actually want the reasons to keep going back to this brand. And after a while, we notice, oh, wait a minute, I've been going with these guys for a while. They haven't let me down. They've always delivered on the promise. So I'm actually getting loyal to them. And that's happened to me. And again, we've mentioned this a million times before with specific brand of supplements. There is no way that I'm going to think of any other brand because of the experiences that I kept having with this one brand. So accounting is no different. Be sure to drive that brand loyalty instead of expecting it from an audience that doesn't know why they should go with your brand.
That's right. So the next one that we've got on this list is your marketing spend is out of control. So your brand marketing seems to be eating up too much time and money. So a lot of clients don't understand what they should be spending and how much they should be spending and what's too much and too little. And obviously, you know, there is big brands spending squillions of dollars on making sure you feel a certain way about their brand. When you're a small business, you've kind of got not the same budget, you know, and maybe even not the same awareness or need for you. So you have to be really conscious of what you're doing with your brand and your marketing. And that's again where running through our P8 program, we actually identify a niche that you should be focusing on. And that might sound really scary for a small business that's trying to grow, but what they soon find is that how much easier life is to communicate to one type of audience and one type of player that's going to respond to them. And what generally happens is the other outliers start to come in anyway, because what happens is they start hearing this great experience that you're having with this brand or this company, and word of mouth starts to work for you. And so you're actually spending less on marketing because the marketing you worked on, the niching, is actually doing the work for you. And we all know, and I guarantee many people out there that listen back will know that word of mouth is the most important part of their business, especially when you're a small business owner.
That is a perfect example. I've got nothing to add. He said it all.
Cool. Fantastic. All right, we'll move to the next one, which is, and it's an important part, your website is not effective. So it's not bringing sales or helping you close deals. We're currently working on a bunch of website projects at the moment, and the main reason we're doing them is because their previous website was either non-existent or it was built a decade or so ago, and so technology changed and things like that. So technology is one example, but another example is that it with the technology and the trends in the way websites are built and the way you communicate and how effective it is. Like if it's not, again, visually interesting, it's not got the right words in it, it's not got the right technology in the sense of these days, there are certain ways websites need to look and function so that you can attract an audience. So if it looks like it was built 10 years ago, it will probably result in the results you were getting 10 years ago. But there's a lot more people around now and there's a lot more competition. So, you know, if you were getting 100 leads last 10 years ago, you may only get 10 or 20 now or one, right? But we want to get you back to the 100. And the way we do that is obviously looking at how your website is communicating, because essentially, even though people think of social media as the primary promotional tool, what we all do is jump on Google and look up this business, and we just want to see the website resonates with everything we're seeing online. So that's another reason why get your brand right, get your website right, and then let's talk about all the other examples about there, because essentially people still use Google. They still use their mobiles to search you up. can have a look at a bit of a gander at what you're doing. So make sure you get your website right so that it can help you close sales. This is an important one. A lot of clients we work with don't have confidence. So they're not confident about doing the branding and marketing. And what we try to do with our P8 program is get that confidence back. We want many of our clients, the most common thing that comes out of it is that, I actually understand now. Like, I understand the importance of what this does for my business. And I feel really good about going out there and showing off my business card and my logo and things like that. And, it's like, that's what we want from our clients, is we want them to feel good and we want them to feel confident. We don't want you to not want to be out there, talking about your brand and your business. You need to be feeling fantastic about it. You want to just jump out of bed, go out and do what you do best, but also know that there's this supporting material behind you that is the brand that people want to see. Because again, we need to talk about this clearly with people, is that branding isn't you, but you need to be part of the brand. You need to live and resonate it. It's the audience's perception of that brand. But if you're not living and breathing it, then clearly, if you're not confident, then why would I buy from you? Like, we buy from confidence. We don't buy out of pity. I mean, sometimes with charities, yes, there is a pity factor there, but generally you're buying because of their audience and the people they're helping, not the charity that's doing the work, generally.
Well, it's very interesting how you put it, Chris. I'm going to cover the other side of what you said, because on one side, it is absolutely true that the brand must be built and displayed. On the other side, confidence also plays a big part. And I'm pointing the finger at myself for a while, because I had my own start with this as well. So with today being so social media friendly, so optimized for cameras and for a show, not everybody feels well in front of the camera. Not everybody can say what they do in front of a camera. Not everybody thinks they have the right. The imposter syndrome kicks in, the jitters kick in. And the market today is made for those who are bold enough to, even if they're saying something outlandish, but they're saying with confidence, aka a big chunk of social media influencing these days, is that they get results. Actually, the confidence they have translates into the results. And usually the results are more community, more sales, more income, all of these things. But focusing on the confidence to, as a business owner or somebody in the business, show that you are human, that you are approachable, that you are like everybody else. You have your defects, you have your problems, but it didn't stop you from getting in front of the world to say, here I am, this is my product, I would love to connect with you. So confidence also plays a huge part in making your brand work for you, because you built it. So now go make it work.
That's right. Now, the final step, I believe, in this is, and a common one, is your target audience is not clearly defined. So your customers aren't clear what you do or how you can help them. So by going through our P8 program, what we generally try to do is identify reasons people work with you, things you provide solutions for, and the pain points that you overcome, so that when clients are going, geez, it's happened again, who do I use to solve that? I think of you, your brand, whoever you are, because you've clearly communicated to me that if I have this feeling and this emotion or this problem, you're the one I'm going to go to. And you've been in front of them. And because we understand life cycles of selling your whatever it is, sometimes it can be instant right now, or sometimes it's a journey someone has to go on. And so you have to be somewhere along that journey pathway and making sure that you're communicating clearly at those touch points whenever they're ready to jump on board, that you're the brand to go to. And so by having guardianship in place, as that journey happens, we're here with you to facilitate people through that and make sure that target audience. And if you know your target audience, you'll be able to go, look, Chris and Sim, our timeline on usually getting sales is a 6 months journey. So then we can backtrack the 6 months and look at key milestones and key points in that process to say, what can we do to make sure that in 6 months from now, you're the go-to brand that they go with. And that's where guardianship really comes into, because then you can keep doing what you do effectively as a business, but we find ways to help you out, doing it with the brands that we do. So,
well, yes, this is very much the case.
Yep.
Go.
So how does it improve brand guardianship? Well, one of the things that we talk about is, as a business owner, we know how immense the value of right advice can be and bring to your business. So if you're, and the common example, and I'm sorry, Sim, because you are a graphic designer in this conversation, but sometimes someone works with someone who's not you, who is just about the graphics and not about the big picture marketing. They don't fully understand the impact the visuals will have on all the steps throughout the process. They just design a nice, pretty graphic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what we find is that if a business owner doesn't understand the importance of that, like that the graphics are what they need to be and how it impacts on all those steps along the way, then the opportunity is that you're going to lose out on those 6 steps we've just, or 6 reasons that were highlighted just previously. So it's important that you know the immense value of having the right advice and who you're getting the advice from. No hard call on graphic designers, by the way. It's just that graphic designers have a specific role in the entire brand process, not the overall brand as it is. So just be mindful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I'll let you talk for all graphic designers out
there. Well, you just identified the first 5 years of my own career. I thought I knew the technical side to make execution happen on briefs that I received, but I ended up realizing that sometimes I need to go and think about before what I'm doing, so that I can actually fit the brand in its entirety. And the cases that I would stumble upon was I would create this elaborate or very nice looking graphic for a brand that doesn't speak in pretty graphics. It just didn't resonate with the rest of the materials. I got a brief, I got told to do something, and I delivered it in the way that I liked it, but not in the way that best served the brand. Obviously, as years progressed and I matured as a professional, I started realizing that my taste, my personal opinion, is the one thing that I need to leave at the door, and actually ask as many questions as possible, understand the brand in depth, so that I can execute and deliver it in the way that it serves the brand the best. And that's sometimes an exercise of extrapolating from yourself. It's hard to get perspective from yourself. And again, small business owners, if you're creating a brief for a graphic designer, don't expect the graphic designer to do the thinking for you or understand the brand if they haven't been exposed to the entirety of that brand, if they haven't been shown what the brand is about, if there's not a brand manual in place. That designer is going to deliver on a technical execution of graphics. Usually that graphic designer will have an allotted time to do it, and he will have to check the mark to his boss that he did it under the time that it was needed. But without the understanding of how that delivery is going to serve the brand, there's going to be another review and more changes, and eventually a disgruntled customer, which is not what we want. With brand guardianship, you're making sure that everybody who's involved, and especially the brand guardian, knows what the brand is about and how it needs to communicate. So even that the smaller details in graphic design become big wins.
That's right. Yep. So one of the next steps in that is that obviously building a brand so that attracts. Oh, hang on, we just went through that one, isn't it? So let's move on to do that one.
Yes, well, no. we can complement what we did on the first one.
Yeah. So let's talk about the final step in this one. Is that our brand guardianship isn't a cookie cutter approach. So even though we have a framework for how we go about what we do, within that framework we have certain questions that, depending on your response, is how we will react to the ongoing management of your brand. So it's personalized, but the structure is there so that we can go through that framework to get an outcome. And from that outcome, we then go about delivering it. And that's what I think is really important to understand is, yes, we're saying we have a framework, and it may sound like a cookie cutter approach, but that's not the case at all. It's something that we literally use to build the story with you and the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. And by doing that, each of those check boxes that we tick off will make sure that we've covered what we need to cover to make sure a brand is going to do what it needs to do. So that is what that's all about. The reason we did this, by the way, is because we are obsessed in helping you amplify your brand. So if you want people who are obsessed with helping you, then clearly we are your guys, and we look forward to having a chat with you. So one of the key questions that will come up in the conversations with clients is, how is this going to work? How does brand guardianship come about? Well, it's pretty simple. We've basically made it as simple as 1, 2, 3. So we'd love you to book a discovery call. It lets us understand how your business is working, assess the state of a brand, what your goals are, and where your brand needs to be. Based on that, we then move to a second step, which is we select the program that's for you, because one size never fits all. We have our certain packages and sizes, but if you're a brand that has TV and radio in it, then maybe there's some other things we need to talk to you about. If you're just a digital brand or just an online shop and you don't have no physical offline presence, then there's things we need to talk to you about. So together we do a program that's going to be best to meet your goals and the plan in place. And then finally, once you've got that program in place, we then consistently work with the onboarding and coaching. So we implement a plan that you need meet with us regularly, and we sign the brand guardianship to stay focused on the way that we need to amplify your brand. So hopefully for everyone out there, that makes it pretty simple for you to understand how the process works. And if you want to take that opportunity to book a discovery session with us, then please let us better understand your business and set the state of your brand, your goals, and where your brand needs to be. There's a little summary then on Sim and myself. So if you're watching this back, please have a quick look at who we are and what we are and why we are best suited to help you with your brand guardianship. And we really do look forward to someone reaching out to us wherever you are in the world and booking a discovery session, because we know from the clients we're working with right now, it's working. Clients are really happy. Is there anything else you'd love to touch on with why people should book a discovery session and have a chat with you, Sim?
Well, I think you mentioned there, if you want to have a brand pit bull on your side, I think I can be the person to help you. This is something that I
don't see the
I got the
visuals
guns
in
out.
Yeah, you got the guns
to.
out. Alrighty, so that brings it to conclusion to our overview of what a brand guardianship is. And I just wanted to bring up next week's episode of what we're going to talk about, and it's people. We haven't touched on the blue section because it's been really important. We navigate around it because the other sections, not that they're more important, but they just had more, I guess, with the public interest and understanding of what branding is. Those things were what we had to touch on. But we're going to bring it full circle back to step 3 in our process, and we're going to identify the ideal target market and specifically your 3 Ps. To give you a little bit of teaser what that's all about, most business owners think the target market is only the people who buy their product and service. However, there are really 2 other important groups of people that we must consider in your target market. So it helps you see the whole picture. And obviously we talk about payers. We want to touch on 2 of the other ones, which is promoters and partners, and why that's important to your brand. So please join us next week, and we look forward to talking about why people, and we're not talking about the people just inside your business. We're talking about people in general, who they are and what they are, and identifying the avatars. And we look forward to working through that. Sim, over to you for any sign-offs for this week. Do you have any?
Let us know where you're watching this. I always ask this at the end. I'm very curious to see the extent and the reach that we have currently. And it will be interesting in the future to revisit these sessions, because this is the magic of connecting through online airwaves today. I would love to have a comment from people telling me or telling us where they are streaming and watching this from. With that in mind, we'll see you on the next session. And in the meantime, amplify your brand.
Thanks again, Sim. Look forward to everyone. Catch you next week on our next episode of Amplify Your Brand. Take care.